Good morning. Today I've decided to make a rod for my own back and talk about the Black Country, as in what is it and where is it. Now the reason I'm saying I've made a rod for my own back is because no two people will ever quite agree on exactly where and what the Black Country is. I'm careful, I don't want to get my arm broke when he's at swans. But I'm going to give it a go, and I'm going to approach the video as if I'm dealing with somebody that's never even heard of the Black Country. And so I'm sure a lot of you watching it will know exactly what I'm talking about, but others, hopefully, if you're from different parts of the UK, or maybe even better from abroad, will, by the end of the video, have a better understanding of what we are. So let's give it a go. Right, first of all, where is the Black Country? Well, it's in England, within the West Midlands of England, and it's an area to the north and to the west of the city of Birmingham. And it actually consists of 4 metropolitan boroughs. They are Walsall, Wolverhampton, Sandwell, think of Sandwell as West Brom, and Dudley. Now straight away we're going to hit controversy here. I can hear some of you saying not all of Wolverhampton is in the Black Country, not all of Dudley is in the Black Country, and so on and so forth. It comes down to a matter of opinion. I would agree that some bits of Wolverhampton are not in the Black Country and wouldn't class themselves as being in the Black Country, but that's roughly it. Wolverhampton, Walsall, Sandwell and Dudley. It's about 10 miles wide, the area, and about 25 miles from north to south. And it actually sits on what used to be called, or I suppose still is called, the South Staffordshire coalfield. Now, a couple of things to clear up before we go any further. I have heard from many people that they don't class Dudley as being in the Black Country. Now, I think the reason for this error is Dudley, when I say Dudley, I don't mean the entire metropolitan borough as it is now, which is quite a big area. The old school Dudley, which was basically the town itself and a diameter with a circle of about, I don't know, 2 or 3 miles in diameter around it. That used to be classed as Dudley until 1974. Now, Dudley, the town, was always an island of Worcestershire within Staffordshire. The reason for that is Dudley was a feudal manor that was tied to Worcester for administrative and tax purposes for a very long time, basically since the Domesday Book, really. I put some maps up to show you how Dudley used to be an island surrounded by Staffordshire. And one of the definitions of the Black Country is that it sits on that South Staffs coalfield. And of course, Dudley never been in Staffordshire. Some people would say, oh, that means Dudley was never in the Black Country. Well, as we say round here, don't come here with your softness. Dudley is an integral part of the Black Country. I have heard it sometimes described as the unofficial capital of the Black Country. Now, I'm from Dudley, but I think that's maybe going a bit far. Another thing to clear up, especially from people from other parts of the UK, I am from Dudley, and apart from my time in the army, I've spent most of my life living and working in the area. I can assure you right now that it has never been pronounced Dudley or Dudley. Never. And that's from somebody that's lived here all his life. I do know why people in other parts of the country think it's pronounced Dudley. That's all down to one particular so-called comedian who put it into the national kind of consciousness that we say Dudley. We don't, we never have. I wanted to get that cleared up. Now, regarding the Black Country, there is, or what's left of, a Black Country dialect. Now, I'm not going to delve too deeply into that because that deserves its own video. Suffice to say, at the moment when I'm doing my videos, I talk in, I suppose, what most people would recognise as the kind of West Midlands, or some people would call yam accent. But I steer clear of using dialect because it still exists, certainly amongst people of my age. But I said I'm going to steer clear of talking about the dialect. I said, suffice to say, it does still exist, but the truth is it's basically dying out, and you need to get to people of my age and above that you would hear regularly using Black Country dialect. So we know where the Black Country is and all that, but how did it come to be? Well, we went through something called the Industrial Revolution. The dates are a bit elastic, but so we say the early 1700s up to about 1840, 1850. And in fact, the earliest steam engine ever designed by a fellow called Thomas Newcomen was installed at Connegree Coal Works down Tipton, which is in the Black Country, on the 14th of the 7th, 1712. Now, because of that, the 14th of the 7th is designated Black Country Day every year. So, first ever steam engine put in place and which actually worked here in the Black Country. Indeed, here in the UK. So, obviously, before the Industrial Revolution, in the beginning, the Black Country was basically like most of the UK, really, in that it was mainly rural. Most people, not all, were involved in agriculture of one sort or another. But obviously with the advent of the Industrial Revolution, that all changed. There had been some ironworks and similar things in the Black Country since probably the 15th, 16th century, but it hadn't really took off. But of course, as I said, with the Industrial Revolution coming along, that changed everything for the Black Country. The thing is, the Black Country had got three things that were absolutely essential for producing the iron, which of course was one of the main things that was used throughout the Industrial Revolution for bridges, later on for railways, for factories, canals, foundries, pumps, mills, all sorts of things. Iron was essential, and the Black Country, of course, had coal, limestone and iron ore in abundance. And I said they're the three things you need for smelting iron. Plus, of course, the one advantage you've got, or they'd got, for industrial work over agricultural work was it wasn't seasonal. If you're working in a field in the winter, might not be hardly any work at all. In the summer, of course, you've got cropping, harvesting, all that kind of stuff. But it's seasonal and unreliable depending on the weather. Whereas, of course, with industry, it's all year round. Now, that caused a massive influx of people from all over England and probably from beyond to work in the Black Country. Because, as I said, it was something you could depend on. Hard graft, but something you could depend on. I suspect that the Black Country dialect actually grew and became the Black Country dialect because of this basically mass migration of workers from up north, from Wales, from other parts of the Midlands, and they all brought their own pronunciations and expressions and things like that with them. And that, that is how the Black Country dialect came to be, I think. But steady work and plenty of raw materials for producing iron. That's how the Black Country started and basically exploded in industry. The area was once described as black by day and red by night because of the industry. But when was it first referred to as the Black Country? Let's see if we can figure that out from documentary sources rather than just hearsay. On the 24th of November 1841, a fellow called Mr. Simpson, who was the town clerk of Lichfield, stated that he was going into the Black Country of South Staffordshire. In 1846, a fellow called Reverend W. Gresley wrote a story called Colton Green, A Tale of the Black Country. And in it he mentions that you enter the dismal region of mines and forges, commonly called the Black Country. 1849, the Illustrated London News described it as the Black Country. In 1851, a guidebook for the London and North West Railways devoted an entire chapter to the Black Country. And in 1860, a travelogue stated that the name was eminently descriptive. The ground is black and the atmosphere is black. However, earlier than any of these, in 1832, a woman who kept a diary all her life travelled through the area. Now, in her diary, she said that the men, women, houses and countryside are all black. Now, the woman who described the area as that later became Queen Victoria. There is a story about the fact that when she came through on a train once, she was so distressed by the view out of the window that she asked for the curtains to be drawn. Maybe. But lots of references to the Black Country, but the earliest one that I know of was written by soon-to-be Queen Victoria in her diary in 1832. So, by 1855, which is near the end of the Industrial Revolution, the Black Country had become one of the centres of industry, iron making, chains, nails, railway, anchor chains, also anything to do with steel. It was getting made here in the Black Country, on, more often than not, iron smelted locally. Now, by 1855, there were 65 iron mines in the Black Country region, 169 furnaces. Just imagine what the place looked like. Now they were producing between them 950,000 tonnes of iron a year. 950,000 tonnes. That was a third of the entire production for the UK. So as I said, you've got all this work going on, and it was basically just a vast industrial landscape. There was even, I mentioned earlier on about the South Staffordshire coalfield that the Black Country sits on. There was, in a lot of places, coal actually on the surface of the land, which of course would sometimes set a fire and cause all sorts of problems. Just imagine, I said, the smoke, the noise, day and night, constant incessant thumping, and all the fumes and the smoke. Must have been something to behold, but not a particularly, pretty place to be living in. Here's another description. It's a barren wasteland riddled with fire, ash and dust. The very air you breathe is a poisonous fume. Is that the Black Country? No. For those of you that have read Lord of the Rings and J.R.R. Tolkien and so on, he's describing a kingdom called Mordor. Now the thing is, Tolkien in his early years did live in King's Heath over in Birmingham, or Brummagem as we call it, for a while, and he also lived in North Worcestershire. So he undoubtedly would have seen what was left of the Black Country industry of his time. So a lot of people would say, and I agree with him, that when he's describing Mordor, he's actually describing the Black Country. Not convinced? Well, apparently, I'm no Tolkien expert, but apparently Mordor, that kingdom, in the Elvish language of Sindarin, Mordor means the dark or the black land. Black land, Black Country. Could be coincidence. But as I said, I think his description and his idea for Mordor was formed by seeing this place back in the day. And I'm right. So, that's it. Town clerk of Lichfield stated that he was taking a trip into the Black Country of South Staffordshire. That was 1841. Shut up. Hate that. In 1846, Reverend W. Greasley wrote a book. So, that is my own little potted history and definition of the Black Country. Now, I'm sure some of the things I've said, some of you out there might disagree with. In that case, as we say around here, if you don't like it, you can please yourself. There we are. As usual, if you've made it this far, I hope you've found it enjoyable and maybe learned a thing or two, especially if you're not from around here. I do like the idea of people from other parts of the UK and indeed other continents watching the video channel. Don't forget, like and subscribe, and also I'm very keen on getting the Facebook group to expand, so I can get more people in with more ideas for things that I might do, and that they obviously will have some valuable insights for me as well. So that's it. Until the next time, remember, keep out the Oss Road.